Hello, my English learning friends. Welcome back to English Listening Practice. In today's video, our topic is Sustainable Future, Environment, Energy, and Our World, presented in 3 parts. Key vocabulary and phrases will be highlighted on the screen. For the best results, listen in a quiet place where you can fully focus. This video works best when you listen to it repeatedly, so feel free to come back and replay it as many times as you like. Let's get started.
Environmental awareness, why it matters to all of us. Hello everyone, it's wonderful to have you here today. Let's take a journey together and talk about something that affects every single one of us, the environment. This is not just a topic for scientists, politicians, or activists. It's about the air we breathe, the water we drink, the land we walk on, and the world we share with countless other living things. In other words, it's about our home. Over the last few decades, our planet has gone through some major changes. The climate is shifting in ways we can no longer ignore. Winters in some regions are shorter, summers are hotter, and storms are becoming stronger and more unpredictable. Animals are migrating earlier in the year, flowers are blooming at unusual times, and some species are disappearing faster than ever before. These aren't distant problems happening in faraway countries. They are happening in our own communities. One of the most urgent challenges we face is pollution. It comes in many forms: plastic waste floating in our oceans, harmful gases filling our skies, toxic chemicals leaking into the soil. This pollution damages the balance of nature, harms wildlife, and even threatens human health. For example, air pollution can lead to respiratory diseases, while contaminated water can spread dangerous illnesses. The good news is that we are not powerless. Every small action counts. Recycling, reducing waste, and choosing cleaner energy sources might seem like tiny steps, but when millions of people take them, the result is a powerful force for change. Think about it. If every household reduced its plastic use by just 10%, billions of plastic bottles and bags could be kept out of our landfills and oceans each year. Let's talk about forests. They are often called the lungs of our planet because they absorb carbon dioxide, release oxygen, and clean the air. Forests also provide habitats for countless species, from birds and insects to large mammals. They help regulate the Earth's climate and protect soil from erosion. Yet, despite their importance, deforestation continues at an alarming rate. About 10 million hectares of forest are lost every year, much of it to agriculture and urban development. When we lose forests, we lose more than just trees. We lose biodiversity, we lose natural water filters, and we lose a vital shield against climate change. Protecting forests isn't just about saving wildlife. It's about protecting our own future, ensuring clean air, stable weather, and safe homes for millions of people who depend directly on forest resources. Water is another precious resource we often take for granted. Fresh water is finite. There is only so much available on Earth, and in many parts of the world, it's becoming harder to access. Overuse, pollution, and climate change are putting extreme pressure on rivers, lakes, and underground water supplies. In some regions, wells are drying up and rivers are shrinking. We can all take simple steps to conserve water. Fixing leaks at home, installing efficient appliances, using collected rainwater for gardens, and avoiding unnecessary waste all make a difference. Farmers can use modern irrigation systems to reduce water loss, and cities can invest in infrastructure to ensure fair and safe distribution. Water is life. Without it, plants, animals, and humans cannot survive. Another critical area is energy. Much of the world still depends on fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas. These sources produce large amounts of greenhouse gas emissions, which trap heat in the atmosphere and drive climate change. The solution lies in renewable energy sources such as solar power, wind power, and hydropower. These technologies produce clean electricity without polluting the air. Transitioning to renewable energy requires investment, innovation, and cooperation between governments, businesses, and communities. It won't happen overnight, but every wind turbine built, every solar panel installed, and every home insulated against heat loss brings us closer to a cleaner future. And renewable energy is not just about protecting the planet, it can also create millions of jobs. Reduce energy costs in the long run, and improve public health. I understand that these issues can feel overwhelming. When we hear about melting ice caps, endangered species, and rising sea levels, it's easy to think, what difference can I make? But change often starts small. Awareness is the first step. When you talk about these issues with friends and family, when you support leaders and companies that care for the planet, and when you make conscious choices in your daily life, you are part of the solution. Even small actions can have a ripple effect. Planting a single tree may not stop climate change, but millions of trees planted around the world can make a huge impact. Bringing your own reusable bag to the store may not save the oceans. But if millions of people do the same, the reduction in plastic waste will be significant. The environment isn't just nature out there, it's the air filling your lungs, the water in your glass, the park where your children play. If we take care of it, it will take care of us. Let's each play our part, no matter how small it may seem. Thank you for listening. I hope this inspires you to take one step today toward a cleaner, greener tomorrow.
The Global Energy Challenge. Hello everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about one of the most important and complex issues facing our world, energy. Energy powers almost every part of our lives. It lights our homes, fuels our cars, charges our phones, and keeps factories running. Without it, our modern world simply wouldn't function. For more than a century, the majority of our energy has come from fossil fuels, coal, oil, and natural gas. These fuels are powerful and convenient, but they come at a high cost. Burning them releases greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide, which trap heat in our atmosphere and contribute to climate change. Fossil fuels are also finite resources. Once we burn them, they're gone forever. The demand for energy is growing rapidly. In the past 50 years, global energy consumption has more than doubled. Populations are increasing, economies are expanding, and more people are gaining access to electricity and modern conveniences. While this progress improves lives, it also places enormous pressure on our planet's resources. One of the biggest challenges is balancing energy demand with environmental protection. Many developing countries still rely heavily on coal because it's cheap and abundant. In these regions, coal plants provide jobs and electricity to millions of people, but they also release high levels of pollution. In contrast, wealthier nations are starting to shift toward cleaner energy, but the transition is slow and costly. Let's consider oil, the world's most traded commodity. It fuels cars, ships, and planes, and it's also a key ingredient in plastics and chemicals. However, oil extraction can cause serious environmental damage. Oil spills harm marine life, and drilling can damage fragile ecosystems. Moreover, the burning of oil-based fuels is one of the largest sources of air pollution worldwide. Natural gas is often described as the cleanest fossil fuel because it produces less carbon dioxide than coal or oil when burned. However, it still contributes to climate change, and its extraction process, particularly fracking, can pollute water supplies and trigger small earthquakes. So, what's the solution? The answer lies in energy diversification. This means using a mix of sources, renewable energy like solar, wind, and hydropower, along with improving the efficiency of how we use energy. Solar power captures energy from the sun using panels, and it's becoming more affordable each year. In some sunny countries, large solar farms can now generate electricity more cheaply than coal plants. Wind power uses turbines to turn moving air into clean electricity. Coastal areas and open plains are ideal locations for wind farms, which can produce huge amounts of power without polluting the air. Hydropower, which uses flowing water to generate electricity, has been around for decades and remains one of the most reliable renewable sources. However, renewable energy also has challenges. Solar panels don't produce power at night, and wind turbines depend on the wind blowing. This means we need energy storage solutions, such as large batteries, to keep the lights on when the sun isn't shining or the wind isn't blowing. another important part of the energy challenge is efficiency. Using energy more wisely can reduce demand without sacrificing comfort or productivity. For example, LED light bulbs use up to 80% less electricity than traditional bulbs. Better building design can reduce the need for heating and cooling, saving both energy and money. In transportation, electric vehicles and public transit systems can cut emissions significantly compared to petrol and diesel cars. Transitioning to a cleaner energy system requires investment, not only in technology but also in people. Workers in coal mines or oil fields can be retrained for jobs in renewable energy, ensuring that communities are not left behind. Governments can encourage this transition by offering subsidies for clean energy, setting targets for reducing emissions, and phasing out the most polluting technologies. International cooperation is also essential. Energy markets are global, and no single country can solve the challenge alone. Agreements like the Paris Climate Accord aim to bring nations together to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and support sustainable development. But reaching these goals takes commitment, trust, and action from all sides. As individuals, we also have a role to play. We can choose energy-efficient appliances, support clean energy policies, and reduce unnecessary energy use in our daily lives. Turning off lights when we leave a room, lowering heating or air conditioning when not needed, and walking or cycling for short trips are small changes that add up over time. The global energy challenge is not just about technology, it's about mindset. We need to see energy not as something unlimited and disposable, but as a precious resource that must be managed wisely. By rethinking how we produce and use energy, we can create a future that is both prosperous and sustainable. This transition won't be easy. There will be costs, debates, and setbacks along the way. But the alternative, continuing our current path, will lead to more extreme weather, rising sea levels, and greater environmental damage. The choice is clear: act now, or face far greater challenges in the future. Energy powers our world, but how we choose to create and consume it will determine the health of our planet for generations to come. The decisions we make today will shape the air we breathe, the stability of our climate, and the opportunities available to our children. Let's choose wisely, because our future depends on it.
Hi James, thanks for joining me today. I wanted to have a conversation about renewable energy because it's such a big topic these days.
Absolutely, Sarah. It's a topic I'm passionate about. Renewable energy is no longer a distant dream. It's becoming a major part of our global energy system.
Let's start with the basics. When we say renewable energy, we're talking about energy sources that naturally replenish themselves, right?
Exactly. That includes solar power, wind power, hydropower, biomass, and geothermal energy. Unlike fossil fuels, these sources won't run out anytime soon.
And they don't produce the same level of greenhouse gas emissions that fossil fuels do, which is one of their biggest advantages.
That's right. For example, solar panels generate electricity without emitting carbon dioxide during operation. And wind turbines, they just spin and produce power from moving air. No smoke, no pollution.
I think people often forget that renewable energy also has benefits for public health. Cleaner air means fewer respiratory diseases and less strain on healthcare systems.
Yes, and there are economic benefits too. The renewable energy industry is creating millions of jobs worldwide. From manufacturing solar panels to maintaining wind farms, it's a growing sector with huge potential.
But it's not all perfect, is it? There are still challenges to overcome.
Definitely. One of the main issues is intermittency. Solar power depends on sunlight, and wind power depends on the wind blowing. We can't control the weather, so we need energy storage solutions to keep power available when production is low.
That's where large-scale batteries come in, right?
Exactly. Batteries, pumped storage hydropower, and even new hydrogen storage technologies are helping solve this problem. But they can be expensive, and scaling them up takes time and investment.
I've also heard people worry about the land and resources needed for renewable projects. For example, large solar farms or wind farms can take up a lot of space.
That's true, but smart planning can reduce these impacts. We can place solar panels on rooftops, build offshore wind farms, or use land that isn't suitable for farming. And compared to the environmental damage caused by fossil fuel extraction, renewable projects are still much cleaner overall.
Let's talk numbers. I read that in 2022, renewable energy made up about 30% of global electricity production. That's impressive, but we still have a long way to go.
Yes, and the International Energy Agency says we need to triple renewable capacity by 2030 to stay on track for climate goals. That means more investment, more innovation, and stronger political will.
Governments can play a huge role here. Subsidies for clean energy, tax incentives for households installing solar panels, and strict limits on emissions can speed up the transition.
And individuals have power too. Choosing an electricity provider that uses renewable sources, reducing energy consumption, and supporting clean energy policies all help.
I think another important aspect is education. People need to understand not just the benefits of renewable energy, but also how they can be part of the change.
Absolutely. Schools, media, and community programs can spread awareness. When people see that renewable energy isn't just for environmentalists, but for everyone, adoption becomes faster.
Looking ahead, what technology are you most excited about?
I'd say offshore wind farms are incredibly promising. The winds at sea are stronger and more consistent, and new floating turbine designs mean we can place them in deeper waters.
For me, it's solar energy. Costs have dropped more than 80% in the past decade, and I think we're only scratching the surface of its potential. Imagine every building covered in solar panels.
That would be amazing. Pair that with energy-efficient appliances, electric vehicles, and smart grids, and we'd have a much cleaner and more reliable energy system.
We've covered a lot today, from the basics of renewable energy to its challenges, opportunities, and future.
Yes, and my main takeaway is that renewable energy is not a luxury. It's a necessity. The faster we transition, the better chance we have of avoiding the worst effects of climate change.
I agree. And the great thing is, it's not just about preventing disaster. It's about building a healthier, more sustainable, and fairer world.
Well said, Sarah.
Thanks, James, and thanks to everyone listening. Let's keep the conversation going, and let's keep moving toward a renewable future.
Great job today. You've just completed another English listening practice. Remember, you can listen to this lesson as many times as you like to improve your skills. The more you listen, the better you'll understand. If you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with friends. See you in the next practice, and keep learning every day.